Hi there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelby and today I have 5 book recommendations for you. I have 5 hard-hitting contemporaries that I highly recommend. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for light and fluffy books and I'm looking for something a little harder, a little more impactful, and so occasionally I find a gem in that department. I'll link them all down below and I would love to hear your guys' favorite hard-hitting contemporary books. First one I have to talk about is Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. All of her books are pretty hard-hitting, and this one was no exception. This is about a labor and delivery nurse named Ruth. She has been doing this job for years, and she is African American, and usually she doesn't face a lot of racism in her job. But this couple come in to give birth, and the dad is a white supremacist and demand that she cannot treat their son. But they have a very small staff in their hospital, so it'd be really difficult to find replacements, but the boss tells her not to work on their son and kind to hands off. But she's in the same room as the baby, and the baby goes into cardiac arrest, and she tries to help the baby but tells them that she didn't because she doesn't want to disobey what her boss told her to do. And this gets her in so much trouble. She ends up being in a lawsuit and it throws her life for a loop and it ruins her life basically. It causes issues for her and her son. You see through the perspective of her lawyer, through Ruth, and through the guy who's the white supremacist, and you kind of see where all of them are coming from. And this one is extremely hard-hitting but is really impactful and important to read. And this one gave me a lot of food for thought, and I don't want to say much else, but this one I highly recommend. Next one I have to talk about is actually a young adult book, and this is The Running Dream. And I don't know how to say the author's name, so I'm just going to link it down below. But this is about a girl named Jessica. She's in high school. She's a track star. She wants to go to college and get a scholarship for doing track. She just loves to run. But on their way to a track meet, their bus gets in an accident and one of the people on the bus dies, and she gets injured really badly and loses one of her legs. And I think it is from below the knee, not above the knee. And she's basically having to start over learning how to walk again and live her life and go from a wheelchair to a prosthetic and what that means for her. And she feels like her dreams are over of being a runner. And you get to watch her make this journey, and she also makes friends with a girl who is differently abled that she maybe wouldn't have paid attention to if she weren't in this situation, and she learns how to run again. And this one was so emotional and just really hard-hitting and hit me harder than I thought it would for a young adult book, and this one I could not recommend enough. The next one I have to talk about is After the End by Claire Mackintosh. Claire Mackintosh generally writes suspense novels. I think she's written 3 suspense, but this one is more contemporary. And this one is about a couple named Pip and Max, and they have a son named Dylan who I think is like 4 or something like that, maybe younger. And he is diagnosed with cancer, and it takes a toll on their marriage and is really hard for them. Even though they're a really tight-knit couple, this just plays such a toll on their marriage. And they're forced to make this decision that will change the quality of life for their son, and if he has a life at all. And the two people do not agree on what they should do for their son. So Pip and Max just cannot agree what to do for the son, and it tears their marriage apart. And we follow a really unique kind of story where we explore what happens if the hospital decides to go with Max's choice or to go with Pip's choice. Because if parents cannot choose what they want to do for their child, it is left up to the hospital to decide what is in the best interest of this child. And so we'd explore what happens if it was Pip's choice or Max's choice, and what happens, and we see these 2 alternate realities. And this one was so impactful and really emotional and had me crying and really relatable for me because I do have a daughter, and it just sounds so heartbreaking. And I really liked seeing this side of Claire Mackintosh where she wrote about something that to her hit home, and it wasn't a suspense novel. It was very real for her, and she wrote in a way that could only be written if she experienced something firsthand similar to this. And this one just touched such a spot in my heart, and I could not recommend this enough. I think it comes out soon if it's not out already. But yes, highly, highly recommend this one. The next one I have to talk about is Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I'm sure you guys have heard of this one. It's really popular here on YouTube. And this is about a small town in Alaska, I think, and they are really into hockey. There is a high school hockey team, and there is this hockey player named Kevin, and he's probably going to make it to the NHL. and he's in high school. He's pretty privileged, but he's basically seen as a celebrity here in this town because he is going to make it big and he wins a lot of games. But there's also this other guy who is, I think, his age or a little bit younger, named Amat, and he is really underprivileged, and he comes from a less fortunate family, but he really wants to play hockey, and he just works way harder than Kevin to be where he is and to play hockey and be successful. And we see through both their perspectives, as well as Kevin's friend Benji, who also plays hockey and is struggling with his own things at home and with his identity. And we also follow a girl named Maya, who is the coach's daughter, and she doesn't really care about hockey, but it turns out that Kevin and Amat both have crushes on her, and this has some pretty negative consequences for her, and something happens to her and it's really difficult, and no one really believes her about what happened. And we kind of follow everyone in this town and how they're defending someone and not defending the other, and how they're victim blaming, and it's really emotional and impactful. And I can't say I quite enjoyed it because the subject matter is really deep and hard, but I thought it was really well written, and I would like to continue on with the series. The next book I have to talk about is A Heart and a Body in the World by Deb Coletti, and this is also a young adult novel. It's about a girl named Annabelle, and she's a senior in high school. She loves to run, and a year ago she experienced a terrible tragedy, and she has been dealing with the consequences ever since, and she's been pretty depressed from it. And she decides that she wants to make a difference and run all the way across the country from Washington to Washington, D.C. And that is quite the trek, and some people, like her mother, believe that it's crazy for her to do, while other people think it's very inspirational. And the story gets out that she wants to run across the country, and basically she's followed by her grandpa in his RV, and they make this road trip slash running expedition across the country, and along the way you learn what happened to her, and at the end you find out what happened, and it's very emotional. It's not a very loud book, it's a really quiet book, but the message itself and what she is saying is loud, and it is very emotional, very good. Highly recommend this one. I know it's talked about a lot, but I definitely recommend it. So those are 5 hard-hitting contemporaries I have to recommend for you guys. Like I said, I will link them all down below, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye.